Japan.
Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Good morning on this Saturday morning, at least here on the West Coast. It's morning about 10 a.m., a little bit after, actually, because I was late getting into the office. So I'll take the blame on that one. Nonetheless, we've got some great Dota to kick the day off, and we got a long day of Dota ahead of us, 8 hours, give or take, starting right now and taking us on through into the early evening/evening in North and South America. Really looking forward to the broadcast here today. Really looking forward to the match that's going to take us, get us going, I should say. Typical Mistakes going to be taking on Denial Esports, two North American squads, and of the entire field, obviously you have the big three at the top with Dignitas, EG, and Team Liquid. Then after that, you've got the two teams that want to be the next Team Liquid and the next EG, and Typical Mistakes and Denial. Now, both of these teams are really on the way up. Typical Mistakes is looking real good in the standings, by the way. They're fighting their way into the top half, and Denial has had some good games nonetheless as well, led by Eosin, a player that is probably one of the more well-known, and I hate to use phrases like second tier because that really doesn't capture how good these players actually are, but they're just not quite on that full-time professional level for one reason or another. Could just be having trouble finding stability with the team, could be any number of reasons, but it isn't based on talent or on ability. I can tell you that much. Eosin and company and everyone in this game and throughout the entire league showcasing some of the best Dota you're going to see. It's just not quite on that next level. And again, that's what the ADL is all about, is finding that next team, that next breakout team, giving them a chance to compete day to day and week to week against the best teams in the region in a bid to not only find their own breakout moment, but in a bid to likewise improve their play over time as well, just because their quality of competition is going to be guaranteed. But excuse me, my goodness. A little bit of a frog in the throat this morning. But Eosin, again, probably the most well-known player on Denial. He, for a while, had his own stack, Eosin +4. I'm pretty sure at least a handful of that former team has made its way onto Denial Esports. And they had some limited success. They did have a chance to get some wins under their belt, some damn good wins at that, in the Star Ladder group stage and in the Defense group stage and so on. So these teams do have some experience, but really right now, Typical Mistakes has to be considered one of the big standouts in this field. They're sitting at 5-1 and in third place in the standings right now. They're trailing only Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses, and they're actually half a point ahead of Team Dignitas, who's dropped 2 games, won an upset to Arctic Gaming, who likewise has 5 wins. They do have 3 losses, though, and they also lost the Evil Geniuses. So Team Dignitas and Typical Mistakes duking it out for that also important third spot. And again, the top 5 teams, Liquid, EG, Typical Mistakes, Dignitas, and Arctic, all looking real good. And, as of right now, Denial has been a little lackluster in their performance. They're 2-4. But at the same time, they have had a couple of good wins. They've had a lot of good games. They've been a very fun team to watch. They're a little reminiscent of Mouse in a way. Eosin is generally a hard farming carry, and he does play black style. He likes to just, he likes lineups that are going to protect him, that are going to allow him to be stable and focus on nothing but pure GPM and pure CS. And that can often get them in some great positions. Also opens the door, though, for their opponents to take advantage of that. And Typical Mistakes with the Darkseer and Chin pick up, 2 very solid pickups. The Chin coming out ultra early, that tells me they're going to want to exploit that. They're going to want to take advantage of the fact that Denial is most comfortable whenever they're just sitting on their side of the river and running perimeter defense, whenever they're just trying to guard the river, trying to keep the tier 1s up as long as possible, and then making sure they have a bend but don't break policy at the tier 2s while their hard farming carry is able to get in the position he wants to be in. But that Shin pickup certainly makes that a question. Shin coming out so early, they're going to know that the Typical Mistakes wants to make things happen early on in a game. Denial, grabbing the Life Stealer and the Bane, and always nice if you can get those two together, just because Bane, obviously one of the more potent counters to Life Stealer at all phases of the game. Fiend's Grip, going through Magic Immunity, basically can be labeled the hard counter to Life Stealer. That is just the way to cope with him most effectively. But he also really confounds Life Stealer in the laning phase, too, if you happen to get the two up against each other. Enfeebling the LS in the laning phase, especially post-nerf, ever since he had the level 1, had his level 1 open wounds nerfed. It is a situation where Life Stealer very much suffers from the enfeeble just because all of a sudden he's not quite as much of a threat. He has a little bit of a harder time coming up to CS to begin with, and then hitting for 30 damage certainly doesn't help matters either. Looking at the bans, no Prophet, Bat, Tree, Int Protector, or Queen of Pain. And that's from Typical Mistakes. On Denial, just getting rid of some all-around good heroes so far. I mean, really, just, and again, this is going to be an emerging storyline as we get closer to the International. And I mean, throughout all tournaments, really, D2L, the Defense, Star Ladder, all of them are going to be talking about this, is the way teams are beginning to adjust in the new pick ban. And, whenever I look at, whenever you just get 2 heroes coming out, the bans on both sides, I mean, you still are able to take out some really good heroes and take out some heroes that you may worry quite a bit about. But it's still really hard to just look at after the first 2 bans and going in a second ban phase. It just go, well, obviously, these are the heroes I need to ban. And that comes with its own set of ups and downs. Makes it, sometimes, again, just really obvious stuff that you're going to take out. But it does open this second picking phase up quite a bit. And it places emphasis on the last ban on both sides a little bit more, I think. But Typical Mistakes living up to what we would have expected, grabbing the Juggernaut and the Naga Siren. Would imagine that's going to be a Naga Siren in mid. That's really where she's been running lately, and teams are absolutely loving the way she feels in that position. 2 big reasons for that. She's got that big buff she received to Riptide. Riptide does good damage, allows her to CS from distance, much like a Dragon Knight can out of mid. And it actually is a much larger AoE on that than even the animation would give you credit for. And you can CS. It also allows you to do some light harass. And teams just seem to really get a lot of mileage out of her in mid because of the ensnare as well. I mean, mid is obviously the lane that is most often ganked early on. It's where teams want to put pressure on from a defensive tri-lane just because of how easy it is to move, to smoke and move into mid lane without being detected, or at the very least, with the greatest chance of not having it sniffed out. And whenever you have such a potent disable coming out of the mid hero itself, it makes it so much easier to gank if you're able to catch that mid hero out of position. So the Jugger, the Naga, of course, great pusher in her own right. Certainly nice to have Song of the Siren to fall back on if you do happen to overextend. But that Juggernaut with his healing ward really going to be the big difference maker. And they'll look to grab one more support to go in their tri-lane. On the side of Denial, though, they've got a great anti-push team, and I'm really liking their draft a lot. It's going to be so hard for Typical Mistakes to engage into Denial whenever they have a Kunkka and a Keeper. Keeper of the Light, obviously, with Illuminate is just problematic in his own right. All he needs really is level 3, and he can defend towers almost indefinitely, even with a Juggernaut healing ward. It is just so hard to push into him if he has any support at all. But then you take a Kunkka, and I would imagine that'll be a mid Kunkka. Kunkka versus Naga Siren mid is an interesting matchup. Both heroes have the ability to harass from distance. They kind of have that built in with Riptide and Tidebringer respectively. Kunkka, though, he's really seeing his. There's a nice Jakiro pickup, by the way. I think that's an excellent hero to go with Typical Mistakes. The big issue I saw with their lineup right out the gate was they didn't have a lot of reach. Ensnare has good range on it. That's fine. But other than that, no real hard disables outside of chin grabbing and creep like a Dark Troll Warlord or a Centaur. But that Jakiro is going to give them a little bit more reach. They're still a little lacking in that department, but they're going to try to just overwhelm the enemy team with Naga illusions, with chin creeps and the healing ward, so on and so forth. Rush the tower and try to take fights that way, which they should be able to do with the Juggernaut. But again, Kunkka, a hero that's really getting a lot of play and a lot of attention now. Now the Storm Spirit picked out. I'm really liking Denial's draft here. I feel like they accounted for almost every major factor that they really needed to with this draft. And more to the point, they recognized the Typical Mistakes. With this lineup, I mean, Naga can farm late. And, I mean, a Naga versus a Lifestealer and a Kunkka, though. Lifestealer and Kunkka should easily outcarry her for the most part. Kunkka, with his cleave, should have no problem coping with Naga illusions as strong as they might happen to be the later they get into the game. But the Kunkka pickup, again, he's a hero who's getting a lot more play and a lot of attention, has an excellent ulti in the Ghost Ship that, it's so easy to focus on just the damage that comes out of that. It is a gigantic nuke. And when it does connect, there is that delay, and of course it is a little bit tough to land from time to time unless you have some really good communication. But where Kunkka fits in so well into this lineup is you have the huge amount of anti-push that an Illuminate is going to give you from Keeper of the Light. And fighting into a Kunkka like just trying to engage into him when he could just throw the ship. You're running at the ship, and he's able to lock you down with Torrent and with X marks the spot. The big thing that's often overlooked with him is just how short the cooldown on Ghost Ship happens to be. 60, 50, 40. So by the time he's level 16, he can fight and throw that ship every 40 seconds. And again, the nuke on it is just huge. 350, 450, 550. So they're going to be hard-pressed to really get a lot out of this Chen. But given their draft, they really need to. They don't really have a team that should feel very comfortable taking this to something like 40 minutes. And looking at the way they're laning it, they actually are going to offensively tri-lane this. And this is going to be a test of my own pet theory. And, you know, talking to pro players, and it does differ from player to player and team to team. Some teams feel like LS has just been nerfed into the ground, and he's not going to get that much play because he now is no longer reliable out of the offensive tri-lane, which really limits his viability and the way you can mix and match lineups around him, which people felt was really why he was so strong and so highly coveted for the most part. But, I mean, when you look at the open wounds nerf, it is he hasn't even placed a point yet. It's awful. I mean, the range is bad, but it goes up pretty darn quick. I mean, you're up to... By the time he's level 4 or 5, he's going to have 2 or 3 points into it, and it's almost up to its original range by then anyway. So, I mean, so long as, I mean, yes, at level 1, level 2, maybe he can't be quite as aggressive out of the O-Try. And this is actually surprising, by the way, seeing the Juggernaut go mid. Not a bad choice by any stretch. He should do just fine here, and he'll actually benefit a lot from having that healing ward to heal up from the Tidebringer damage. But... I'm of the mind that I think LS's nerf is a little exaggerated. And Goody has some help behind him. That's going to be the Jakiro. But up against this offensive tri-lane, this is going to be a little hard going. The Illuminate is shoving the lane back. They're going to go ahead and challenge the pole camp. Jakiro's going to have to get out of dodge quick, fast, and in a hurry. And he's going to throw out the dual breath. Actually skilled at level 1. Chen certainly in no shape to come help. But this obviously is a problematic matchup for Denial, for TM, until Chen feels ready to come out. Ryu's actually taking some decent damage here, using his Blade Fury to try and CS a bit. But all in all, I mean, when you look at the way this matchup should go down, it should be break even for at least a little while. The Kunkka over time, though, I feel like should start to get the better of this Juggernaut. And we'll see if that's going to turn out to be true. Down here at bottom, Darkseer versus Storm. Storm's going to have an annoying life, but so long as he is safe and doesn't overcommit, he'll be fine as well. The Enfeeble out on the Naga Siren is so problematic. 23 damage is what she hits for when that Enfeeble's up, and that was one of the big points of her nerf anyway. Whenever she was originally nerfed, was bringing down her right click. Man, I'm actually... Wow, if Bane was level 2, she'd be dead right now. And getting up so close, just no way to disable. She does have 2 points in the Riptide now and an ensnare. Jakiro showing his face. Jakiro's going to be real careful. He can be just as easily engaged upon. Now with 1 point, actually he took a point into Brain Sap. Okay, that's surprising. Nightmare would seem to be the much more logical choice. Wanzo with 1 point into Open Wounds and 1 into Feast as well. And right there's what we're talking about with the nerf to the range on it. But it does get bigger pretty quick. Chen doing a little counter warding. And Chem, in the meantime, is continuing to cause problems for that Naga Siren. And you can see it's having its effect, sitting at 8 CS in comparison to the 13 of the Lifestealer. But Eosin, up near the top, that's where you should be in solo safe lane. This is really good for Denial, just in general. And back to their draft, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a pretty quiet laning phase, so I can get into a longer conversation about it. Is, you know, I often talk, and, you know, I had Blitz on for the ADL not long ago. He and I talked about it. He was actually really happy that I spent enough time focusing on this particular aspect of lineups. And it's just range of influence and the ability to zone people out with your own initiation potential. And that's where heroes like Puck, Storm Spirit, Queen of Pain to a lesser extent. But those heroes really shine because they give you this mass initiation range. Magnus, even though he's really, really not played much at all since the latest patch. Those heroes, the mag once he gets a blink back, what those allow you to do in both a push and an anti-push lineup is just be enough of a threat that the enemy team cannot, or should not at the very least, allow themselves to group up in packs of more than 1 or 2 within a certain... Oh, hang on. Ryu, caught by the Torrent. He drops the healing ward. Immediately killed by Oosh, and he's not going to commit. Ice Path will catch him out, and here comes Chen as well. Oosh, though, able to make it back to the safe side of the river. And Goody, in the meantime, will catch an Illuminate after an open wounds. So Jan able to add first blood to his team's tally. And it's certainly what you want out of your offensive tri lane. Level 3 on that Bane, level 3 on the Keeper, and level 4 on the LS now. Level 3 for Chen, level 3 for Jakiro. Question is, hold on. Who's taking some damage? But Naga sitting at level 5, so they have been benefiting from better experience. That first blood, though, is certainly going to help out this offensive tri lane from Denial. But with that Storm Spirit, you know, whenever you're looking to build a push lineup that's really good at push or really good at anti-push, having reach matters so much. Because if you're on the push side, you want to have the ability to, and we're going to hold that thought, as Jakiro and Chen wanting to take another shot at Oosh. He is level 6 now, has brown boots up. And Oosh is sitting forward. Here we go. There's Blade Fury. Ice Path nicely dodged. Don't think it's going to matter, though. Through the ship. And Ryu wisely running through. And that's one of those, that's got to be, hold on. Never mind. He's fine. But good players, whenever they see the Ghost Ship cast, instead of running backwards or running to the side, they'll just run right towards it. And it's one of those things that's it's a little counterintuitive. And you know, I try to do it whenever I run into a Kunkka in game. It is so hard to see that ship, especially when it's coming like at night, and you don't know exactly what's behind Kunkka. But if he gets it off and you're in a bad situation, you're almost always better just running directly forward. And that's exactly what Ryu did there. But we can already see Chen, even sans creeps, getting the job done. Torque gonna catch PhD. Don't matter. The Ice Path there to cover their retreat. Wanzo moving into the jungle now. And this is really nice for them, being able to send the Keeper elsewhere. He's, you know, Keeper at level 3, he can get by on level 3 for a long time. Having 2 points in the Chakra Magic and 1 and 2 Illuminates really all he needs to feel like a Keeper. And that's exactly what he's built. And Guanzo actually going to be caught with an Omni Slash and ends up dead following an ensnare. So a nice shot from Goody, tossing it and grabbing him. 1-2. Typical mistakes. Really in good shape now. They got the return kill. They took down mid tower and got a kill on the mid there as well. Taking a look at Cakes. He is working on that mechanism. We'll have it before long. Already got a pretty considerable pieces of it. At least he's got the recipes. But, you know, I'm a sheep. This is where Chen really... And this is that time. It's like, okay, 7-10 minutes. We're hitting that mark now. How active do we want to be? Is this going to be super unbelievably hard push, or is this going to be more of a strategic, situational kind of a push line? But to finish the thought, I was talking about Storm Spirit and the importance of reach. Whenever you have him, hold on, I'm a sheep taking some damage. There's an Ice Path and a Brain Sap to help clean him up. So another kill on the Chen. Now the ensnares out. Ice Path. Looked like he wanted to toss it. Never mind the dual breath. I'm sorry. But Denial just kind of getting themselves a free kill. And the one thing I could say is, you know, Chen should have a pretty big collection of creeps right now, and he just kind of doesn't. Not really sure what the reason for that is. He has been active, but for the most part, he's running around by himself. And this is where he's going to want to start put pressure on lanes. He doesn't, you know, I mean, with the Darkseer to take the load off of him mechanism-wise, and that is what he'll be grabbing. Already has the headdress up. Only about 250 gold from having his buckler up. So you've got to be careful here. He doesn't have enough mana to ball lightning if he needs to. But this is not a lineup, again, that I think should feel very comfortable, because what's going to happen if they don't take control of the game early and really set Denial off their pace is Denial's going to get in a good situation with the Storm and with the Kunkka. They're going to dig their heels in, and it's just going to be impossible for them to reliably take fights, especially whenever they don't have great vision around a tower. And that comes down to the factor I was talking about previously, which is reach. So much of having a great push lineup is having the ability to force the enemy team out from under their own tier 1 and particularly tier 2s, where it gets really difficult. With your own initiation potential. Storm Spirit, again, one of the best at that. And likewise, just like anything, I mean, if you're good at push, chances are you're good at anti-push. We're going to have Storm just ball in and find a whole team and thinks better of it. That's EOS with some good decision-making. Balled in, said, oh, hang on a second, you brought friends. I didn't bring enough beer for everyone, so I'll go back to the store. I'll head back to the house. So Eason getting out of dodge and keeping himself alive and safe momentarily. Here in mid, a little bit of counter-push out of Denial. And they're actually going to glyph this. A little bit surprising. Ryu comes out, and we're going to have the ensnare, catching one. Oosh tosses the boat, and he is just going to TP away. Nice Omni Slash. Omni Slash with the mini stun, knocking him out of it. There's Naga put to sleep, and Cake's going to chase Oosh down. And the Torrent, actually nice juke there, keeps him alive. Chim and Juggernaut going back and forth. Oosh will be cleaned up with a Riptide. And 10 minutes in, we got 5 kills on the board. Typical mistakes. Getting another kill on Oosh, and this is what they need. This is how you want your Chen to look. Bring some creeps. Let's get on the tower. They know without Kunkka, they really should be pushing this super hard. They're going to have a hard time pushing without Kunkka, especially as the LS just continues to farm. And Lifestealer will be going with the phase drums approach. They Bracer right after phase, so an armlet quite a ways away as well. Just heard him TP in and load up on Eosin. The Nake's bomb, ready to go. And speaking of Eosin, Treads, Bottle, Null Talisman, pretty standard stuff. Orca Malevolence is going to be very important to him if he wants to engage out. Oosh actually picking up an urn. For 10 minutes in, only 2 heroes on the board over 50 CS. Taking a look at the early gold, we can see that Typical Mistakes is at the lead, coming up to about 4,000 gold their advantage. Experience pretty close, though. So it isn't as if Denial's just being outclassed completely. And, you know, again, it's definitely on TM to make something happen. In the late game, just don't like the way they're going to stack up against Denial's lineup. And, you know, whenever you run a team like TM has, it's so easy, and you see it so often, even at the tip-top level, to stagnate a bit and just sit on that Chen and go, well, okay, we got Chen, and Chen's awesome, so we'll be able to use him in a bit. Let's go ahead and let's finish every item we need and try to get to that super comfortable moment in the game whenever we feel like we can just push towers at will. But there is a definite timing window, especially against, again, a lineup with a Keeper, with a Kunkka, and with a Lifestealer. There is a window you're going to want to hit, and Denial, you're recognizing the best way to keep that window from happening is to just gank them out. They're going to lose Slice'll for sure. Hand of God was blown. Shim's there. He's got Fiend's Grip, just not wanting to engage totally into the dark. Now the counter initiation. Here comes Ryu. Using the Blade Fury, doing great damage. What a vacuum! Pulled them both back. And almost got him 2 kills at that. Pursuing them out. The Lifestealer inside the Chen creep, actually. And there's the Omni Slash. Gonna clean at least one up. Eosin still making a run for it. He's damn near out of mana. Ryu's just gonna go for it. Heard the re-engagement as Guanzo jumped out. Imashib gonna be surged. He's gonna turn Ice Pass actually off the mark. Riptide doing a bit of damage. Guanzo will be brought down as Chen makes it to the high ground. And now Oosh tossing the boat. Will not connect. And he'll be dead as well. 7-3. And that's exactly what Typical Mistakes needed. I love the thought process that Denial had. Their execution, though, a little iffy. Really love the idea that they were, and it all plays into what I was talking about. With the lineup TM has, they have a best buy date. They have some shelf life. And Denial has all the tools they need to keep them on the shelf for too long, if they're allowed to dig their heels in. So Denial says, that's fine. We'll just go get a kill. They can't push with 4. They shouldn't push with 4. So we'll just go smoke, maybe take 1 or 2 kills, and bail out afterwards. And they got 1. They should have just gotten out completely. But TM able to re-initiate, get some reprisal kills, and take down a tier 1 as well. All the tier 1's now down. And 13 minutes in to have all tier 1's down and all your tier 1's still standing, it's a great start for any team with a Chen. Chen really needs map control. Chen really can't accomplish a whole lot, either individually or collectively, whenever the entire map is open and he doesn't know if and when the enemy team's going to be invading his jungle. He just does not work well in that situation. He ends up sitting on the heels of his carries and just basically becoming a glorified babysit support, which he isn't designed to be. His gold suffers, his item gain suffers. But So far, TM definitely not having that problem. Taking a look at the items. Keeper's broke. And poor Kunkka still has to finish his phase boost. Oosh at 65 CS has nonetheless had some deaths, so he's struggling a bit. Eosin making his way, almost certainly. We'll see what he picks up here, if anything. Would imagine he's going to be looking to make his way towards that Orchid Malevolence. Just hanging on to it for now. But Orchid, chances are, going to be his choice. Lifestealer finishes drums, most likely going to begin work on an armlet.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And really, they need that punching power. The way they're going to need to get back into this is with a good Nake's Bomb, well-placed Fiend's Grip, and the whole shebang. And then, you know, it's not insurmountable, but it's 7,500 gold behind at 15 minutes. That's 500 gold per minute lead the enemy team is generating. When you get into that territory, I hope this goes well for them. This gank, if this gank fails, they're hurting. There's a Fiend's Grip, Cake's locked down. He has help nearby. Very slow to react, actually. And, oh wow, Hand of God and Surge going to get him away. There's X marks the spot to bring him back, but Cake's sent back home. At least they didn't end up with giving up a couple of reprisal kills there. But just goes to show you how innately survivable a hero like Darkseer is. Very well timed Hand of God, and he's actually just going straight pipe. So they're relying on the Chin. Yeah, the Chin's actually got the buckler and the headdress in his own inventory. And that's an interesting choice. I mean, it makes sense when you look at Denial's lineup, but I think that jives perfectly. In fact, it makes more than sense. It's really smart, given the shape that they're in, and what Denial has. Denial's basically nothing but magic damage right now. They haven't had time to build a ton of right-click on the Lifestealer or on the Kunkka. They just are still in that farming mode, but they've lost map control, so their GPM is beginning to suffer. So the big problems are the Illuminate, the Ghost Ship, Storm Spirit engaging in, etc. And outside of a few single target bursts of damage, a pipe going to make them so hard to bring down and give them so much potential to push tier 2s and tier 3s early. And TM's just doing a great job playing this lineup. This is how you need to play a Chin lineup. Get your items, that's fine, but do not sit on your laurels. Do not allow the time to pass while you look for that perfect moment. Make things happen. And pipe done on the DS now. Chin with mech done. I mean, pipe and mech done at 16 minutes is actually kind of absurd. It's going to be so hard for them to deal with this because Wanzo, I mean, he's working on that armlet. He'll have it soon-ish. I don't think it's going to be soon enough. They're going to have to fight, especially with the free Roshan and the Naga Siren grabbing the Aegis. Speaking of Naga, and I really love the way they're playing this. Smoking immediately after Roshan and just looking to get a free kill, knowing that if they actually catch someone out, it's a guaranteed tower. And the Naga Siren working on what one would imagine is going to be a Manta style, picking up the ultimate orb. And Denial. Oh, this is bad for Oosh. Oosh is one of those heroes they really just can't afford to lose. Ensnare is going to catch him from long distance. There's the ship and the Ice Path to follow it up. They're going to catch them coming up out of the river. There's Naga Sleep. They need to turn that off. And yeah, that was kind of weird. They should be able to re-engage quite easily. But there's the Infest back out. LS going to be able to make it away. They do track down Oosh. And that's the one hero, again, they really can't afford to lose. Eosin is going to split push bottom. Here comes the immediate reaction there. That's going to be Ryu heading back. And Eosin engages him. Eosin already hitting, or excuse me, taking a lot of damage, though, as Jugger has completed his Yasha. But yeah, what we haven't seen pretty much the entire game is that synergy between these heroes on the side of Denial I was talking about. The Kunkka has really just not been a part of a lot of these defenses. We're going to see the engagement on the Sheep. Ensnare locks Guanzo down. You know, that's something that I should have talked a bit more about, too. Ensnare is just one of those abilities that, besides being a great single target disabled, just bones up and beyond. We're going to see Eosin caught out and re-engaged upon. Beautiful vacuum. Oh, beautiful play. TM on the back of an immediate turn. And, you know, that's so pretty to see. I mean, it's so ugly for one side and so pretty for another. TM recognizing, oh, nice boat. Actually caught all four. See, that's the shame of it. Oosh just proved my point. Why is it hard to push and why did I like the draft so much? That's why. That was a real nice placed torrent. Real well-placed boat. Now the pipe goes up. The mech will be used in a second. But anyway, Eosin overstepping his bounds a bit. And what we saw TM do when they turned around was just a great example of taking what you're given. You know, they were backing off, but Eosin overextended just a bit. And it's one thing if they had just turned around and killed Eosin. They ended up wiping just about the entire team. If for no other reason than because they were just in a great position and willing to capitalize on on the mistakes that the enemy made. See, listen, they even called the police on. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Apparently something happening outside, down on the beautiful streets of sunny San Fran. 12-3. We got 12,000 gold. Moving in the direction of TM. In excess of 10,000. Now we're going to have a re-engagement. Guanzo getting a little chest out there. There's the ice path. Vacuum right back into it. Net holds Guanzo down. Looks like they're not going to overcommit. Instead, just taking down the tier 2. Only one Elder tier tower remains now. They are going to rotate up to mid. Looks like just being methodical about it. No reason not to be. And, you know, this is the beauty. Hang on. Eoson's just going to go for it. And he's going to try to jump back out. There's the ensnare on Guanzo. He's going to invest in and immediately back out. Blade Fury going to chase him down using the drums. And they didn't manage to get anyone there. That was actually gutsy as hell out of Eosin. If Eosin goes in there and dies in that particular position, chances are they just take a tier 3. So he just put a lot on the line there. I don't know that it's really going to matter because the golden experience is so far out of hand. And this team, with a mech, a pipe, the healing ward, that range, by the way, which I talked about during the draft that the Jakiro gave them that they desperately needed. And hell, I mean, Goody, I should say, is going to have his Manta soon. Just picked up his Yasha. Orchid's still quite a ways away for Eosin. This tier 2 just going to be utterly overwhelmed. There's Goody being grabbed. The Illuminate doing a bit of damage. There's Fiend's Grip on the cakes. And Eosin wants to try and be a part of it. However, Hand of God, heal up. Guanzo forced to get out. Ships off the mark. Blade Fury, Ice Path. Going to catch Guanzo and Eosin. Those are two. They honestly can't afford to lose to anyone right now. They're already overwhelmed. And there's the Naga Sleep that's going to allow them to pursue. And Ensnare locks down Jan. Ion Shell, little right click, Ice Path to finish it off. Slicewell makes it a double kill. Now they're on to Oosh. Surge on to Goody. And using the wand charges, he dove that about as hard as he could. Loses the Aegis. And they're already diving the well. Not often the wisest choice. Beautiful Torrent, actually. Might allow him to get 2. There's the Manta used as he finishes it out of the enemy base. Oosh going to pursue him out. Oosh just isn't hitting hard. He has no damage, but he's level 9 at 21 minutes. I mean, what's that tell you? Nice ice path and ensnared to follow up and catch Guanzo. And they're going to be forced out, at least for the moment. There's the Infest to re-engage. Guanzo wants to bring down I Am a Sheep. Here comes Eosin looking to grab a target. Instead, going to be caught. Nope, never mind. Just Chim with the ice path. However, he's forced back. Chim will be cleaned up. I Am a Sheep still pursued by Guanzo. Ensnare is there to lock him down, but not soon enough. Guanzo will end up dead from this. Rages through, but it just doesn't matter. Ryu, in the meantime, cleaning house, back in the enemy base. And Cakes, looks like diving. Don't dive the tier 3, guys. Seal the deal first. Yeah, the enemy, I mean, you look at the levels, it's just, yeah, GG called. Levels just got out of control. Every metric out of control. And typical mistakes. Continues to look very good here in the ADL. Improving their record. And again, it's not as if every team has played the same number of games. So you can't say it's like, oh, everyone's jockeying for those top positions. But right now, there is no team in the field, I mean, no team more so at the very least, that has a claim to being considered one of the strongest, more of a claim than typical mistakes. They're just getting the job done. And even when they lose, which is rarely, they're looking good doing it. 22 minutes, 56 seconds. The final game time, 5-19. The final kill score. And in the North American showdown between TM and Denial, typical mistakes makes it look easy. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. I want to thank you for joining us here on this beautiful Saturday morning. And I got to admit, I kind of like these Saturday broadcasts more than I thought I would. I'm really enjoying working with the ADL, getting up early on a Saturday. You know, this normally would be a day off for me from the D2L. And just want more Dota in my life. Workaholic, so on and so forth. So Happy to be here for the ADL, but getting up in the early hours, looking out over the city, sitting right across, I'm not going to give the address here. Right near the financial district. You can see the skyline. It's a good day. Good day. Nice and quiet here in the studio, just me. And some good Dota. Me, you. That's some good Dota. TM improves their record to 6-1. That actually moves them to second place in the overall ADL standings so far, trailing only Team Liquid, who stands with a better record at 7-1. Our next match coming up, gonna be Denial. Or excuse me, actually, apparently, I'm looking at the schedule. Dignitas is supposed to take on Denial Esports. Maybe they swapped. Maybe it's mislisted. Nonetheless, it's going to be more good Dota. So we'll get the schedule sorted out, and we'll see you guys back in just a few minutes. Stick with us.